Welcome to Ferment Radio, a podcast series on bacterial and social fermentation. Fermentation can incite social action, spark creativity, and bring surprising new tastes to our lives. My name is Aga Pokrivka, and I invite you to join us in a conversation on living interconnectivities, from macro to micro, from societal to cellular, and from global to personal. It looks like a square, monochromatic glass slide photo, and not only because of the material it is made of, but also because it could belong to a different time. It feels as if the face that emerges from there and gazes at you must have posed for a very long time for the exposure to do its job. Only if you could stare at it uninterruptedly for days or years would you be able to notice that the image is in constant change. It is alive. It comes from nowhere and disappears into what comes next. It is called yeastogram. Yeastograms are living images made of yeast cultures growing on agar plates and carved with UV light. One of the people who have mastered this technique is Johanna Rotko, a visual artist based in Lahti, Finland. Yeastograms are a lot about fine-tuning the technology, but it goes beyond that. It is also about bringing the imagery of deceased people back to life, waiting for the uncontrollable to do its job, killing and letting live. In other words, it is about time, it is about patience. What is a yeastogram?
That's good question. Maybe the easiest way of explaining it is that you have growth medium with colorants on a petri dish. Then you cultivate yeast on top of it, which is like just water and live yeast cells. Just a little bit, and then you put a raster image on top of the lid, this whole package under the UV light.
And so you just print the raster image like on a regular printer on some transparent foil.
Transparent foil. And of course the raster image can be whatever, like it can be just, but it has to be black and white. Not black and white. I mean that there is something that is transparent, that the light goes through, and then something black or gray areas that are like sheltering the cells. So the UV light is then going through to the yeast cells and killing or altering the cells. Because I don't think the process is not like this simple, that it kills all the cells, because it doesn't. It's like very normal that there's quite a lot of growth on yeast cells on the plates. So the image forms when there is this altering happening or killing happening on the cells, because then the image forms. But still, the yeast cells can survive the UV light if there's like that they gather together in an areas. So then they can shelter each other. Mm-hmm. But it is a very kind of old type of experiment that people or scientist has been doing since from the 40s or even 20s, I think. It was like that they experiment like what the UV light is doing to cells. And of course it is something that is very well known, that it's killing the microbial cells in some forms, and I think the lower you get, like with the nanometers, there is like this most effective range, which is like 200 nanometers, which is not visible light. So it's like black light, cold black light. But it's something that comes from the sun, going back to the space because of our ozone layer. And this is why the lowest UV rays ain't getting through. If they would go through to the Earth surface, we would not be here.
You let the lamp kind of work on the surface, covered with the yeast and water growing on the agar medium for 2 days, right?
Yeah.
And then how long do you need to wait for the first image to appear?
It is very hard for me to say when it's ready, because it's like they are having their own kind of, they grow, the yeast grows after they come under the UV light, but the images may be formed from this 2 days exposure time, and then maybe a week after. That is like crucial timing. Of course, it depends on what type of yeast you are having on the plate. So there is so much like different types of yeast, even though I'm using like this baker's yeast or
this
brewer's yeast.
This is exactly what I wanted to ask.
But yeah, so it's like the brewer's yeast behaves on certain way, but brewer's yeast or baker's yeast have so many different variety of I really don't know because it's not species. The species is the same, but then it's like
it's a kind.
Yeah. So you get like so many more with this type of yeast that you're working. Maybe type is good word for it. I have been doing most of my work with the brewer's yeast. So there's like ale and then lager yeasts, and they behave very differently. And the lager yeast is usually good to work with in the winter times, because it is more alive in lower temperatures. The ale yeast is like wild. I have had the privilege to try out like different types of like wild baker's yeast and then these like totally different types of yeast, like this rhodoturola, which is red or pink yeast, but it's totally different than baker's yeast, and that's kind of like airborne. So that was like when I just realized it, because of the plates were like growing very fast. Rhodoturola yeast grew like in a day so much that the image was like overboard, or it was like this kind of slimy 3-dimensional images, but it grew like off, or just like that the image was erased because of the growth in just a couple of days. It grew into this lovely pink color.
So from all the yeasts you've been working with, do you have your favorite ones? Like the ones you like to work the most with?
The baker's yeast with this type of yeast that it's easy to buy from these online stores. Like I have a couple of my favorites. I called them by their names on the sackets. So it's like VB06, which is my favorite. And
it sounds like some name of some asteroid or something.
Oh yeah,
they usually have these names.
Yeah, and then the other one is like this BE 134.
How do they differ from other kinds?
The end goal is like, for me, it's making images, making interesting looking images, making them together with the yeast. But the yeast doesn't have the same end goal. They are not, I don't think they are into the image making. And I think they have like different goals in life than my image making. But I try to understand. Of course, this is about understanding your co-workers, to work with the yeast and give the yeast the opportunity to behave like what they want to do on the plate.
I find it very curious in your work that when you look at the Petri dish, with the shapes formed by yeasts, you often choose like a representation of human faces. That's probably the most kind of a appearing motif, at least from what I saw from your work. So it's a little bit of this feeling that suddenly this yeast is looking at you, because many of the faces which appear from those yeastograms, they have quite a particular gaze. They gaze at you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you choose those? What the yeast is going to draw in a way? Like, what is the story behind the pictures?
The focus was on human faces because I think the yeast behaves so differently that sometimes, or it's very common that you don't know what the raster image was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to try to look for the face.
Yeah, something familiar.
Yeah, and then of course I think also it's interesting that when you are studying, when you don't have the face like very obvious there, you start to see the face even when it's not maybe there. Yeah, it was a choice that I made, that I want to have just human face. Because
but
I think
are you familiar with those humans?
Some of them I am, and some of them I'm not. So there's like people that I have photographed. I have bought some of them from these internet auction places or just flea markets, and so I have like shoebox full of old visiting cards, and usually there's like portraits of people with like money or with kind of status on them, with their status, I mean with their wealth, and that they were, of course, this was like some kind of like old times Tinder, I mean, with the visiting cards, that you left the visiting card with like young female visiting card for these like...
So what is on the card? It's a photo of a person?
Photo of a person with just like, I don't know, it is a portrait. Maybe it's a half portrait or full body portrait, or then just face.
But is there a contact to this person also?
The visiting card comes from this, that you went to visit someone and you left your card there. So you left, and of course it was used to matchmaking people with your village maybe, or with your city, or this is the history of the visiting cards that
because I never heard of it. It's very interesting.
Of course the portrait that I have, the image, that shows so much more than what I want to show of them on the Yeastograms. Or I have not wanted to say that these are portraits of people, because I think portrait of a person is somehow telling something about themselves. So you're portraying your face, maybe your like a little bit of your inner thoughts or something. What kind of person are you on the portrait? So this is why I think it's more about the money, about the wealth.
True, because probably also not everybody would have an access to have those pictures being taken.
Yeah, of course the portraits are like these old ones were like very good material for me to use, because I wanted to have like not smiley face. Because when I use those smiley faces and with people showing teeth, the images came out like monstrous.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't like those. I liked it
like serious faces.
Yeah, I liked it, and that's why when I was photographing people, I said that do not smile, please do not smile, and it was like having their kind of like just poker face. And only part of the raster image is exposed on the plate. So there's like just the little bit of chin or a little bit of the nose or a little bit of the eye. But I think the eyes are like the most interesting, and maybe I have been kind of like selecting only or making maybe the most effort on the eyes on the raster images.
When you described all the process, how these histograms are being created, and now hearing also the story of working with like old pictures, probably of people who already passed away, because the photos are quite old. This motif of like a time passing and kind of this flow which kind of, brings the person in, then out, and it's somehow very strong. I wonder, is it like is it a topic which you are focusing on, or it's just like a side effect of your work? I wonder if this catching this, like impermanence, maybe that's the word I was looking for. Is it something, which interests you?
It has been like choice that I have mixed those like living and dead people, concentrating on the face. It can be like exposed in several times and getting totally different outcomes out of the same raster.
So basically the same face can come out very different on each histogram.
Yeah.
Because as we were saying before, on one hand, you kind of you control the beginning of the whole process, but at the end, it's yeast and other microbes who are taking over and kind of making their work.
Yeah.
What about you already told us about how you prepare the histograms and then you let them be so the image can appear. But so then we see the image, right? Probably you document it, but then I imagine it somehow degrades, the image again disappears. And so what is this, like a full life cycle of a histogram? What happens?
Depends on the circumstances or the storage temperature and the moisture, of course. The whole yeastogram is it's like water, and which is jellified with the agar. So it's like 99% of water, and then just little like millimeter or something like that, 2 millimeters of yeast, and then after other things grow on the yeast. So usually it's not like that the agar is not going anywhere. But of course the agar is also evaporating. When I have had them on exhibitions, they are without the lid. So that's why it slowly disappears, the agar. I would say that they would disappear. But it takes time. When it's like just this rubbery or leaf-like concentrated thing left, then I think it takes a while to disappear.
So what is you were showing just before the stack of histograms in your fridge? It's quite many of them. They're like 50, I don't know.
It's quite a lot.
So what is the oldest histogram in your fridge right now?
Oldest? I think it is from the Manta Art Festival in 2019.
Oh wow! So
and it's still visible. There is still like eyes of the
that's
yeast.
amazing. So they have much longer life than I thought.
If it's a live yeast, then it would be just gray or beige colored growth on it, and the image would disappear. So the yeast has died in certain time, and then these other species, when they come, of course there's quite a lot of different species coming, but these Neurospora and the Chrysonillia molds that came, which stayed with me until like last exhibition in 2020 in Solu, which I had like these live yeastograms, formed this beautiful like frame for the yeastograms. And it changed, I think the whole yeastogram was totally different. Of course, it was like gray or beige with charcoal colorant on it. So it was like black and white thing. And then after the exhibition, it was like this orange, beautiful orange color with this orange mold, which is like dust, which is disappearing when you just like transfer it or...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was there any moment that you would be worried about like if something not like more hazardous or not so healthy for a human would start to live on the petri dishes? Since you are like, I just wonder, I mean, I work with microbes a little bit too, and I always wonder like, is it still on the safe side or something strange will start to grow there, right?
When I'm doing the plates, I'm not putting anything like hazardous substances on the plates. So that's kind of like something that grows in our air, in our cells. So I'm thinking that that I cannot really affect the growth that much, because we know that there's like millions of bacteria in our fingertips. But when I push my finger on my petri dish, nothing starts to grow, and it's not like something that that I can grow even from my fingertips on my plates, or I cannot grow anything like bad things even if I wanted to. Or I don't know why I would want to. This is why I think the whole bio-art laboratory or laboratories are like somehow interesting topics, because I think you have to have the evil mind behind if you want to grow something bad. With my plates, I'm not buying that there could be anything like very evil growth.
But I'm just thinking that it's almost like 10 years when you work with this technique, and I'm curious, like, what's the learning, or what did you discover, like, during this work? Of course, like, beyond, like, the whole procedure and technique itself, which is very interesting, but you are working with, like, a very conscious presence of microbes, because, of course, microbes are anywhere and always, but you are really like, you see them and you look at them and you somehow co-live with them. They are in your fridge and so on.
Yeah.
So is there some particular learning or something which this work, like this kind of a close and conscious work, I don't know, contributed to your practice or life?
I got like really annoyed that I didn't know things. And now I'm like saying that I don't have to know. I mean, that things can be like both. I mean, like it's not black and white. It's like everything. It can be everything. But maybe it's somehow like that I have learned to respect the outcomes that I don't know everything, or I don't have to know.
Actually, now it made me think that your kid is witnessing your work, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder how your kid is perceiving that. Is it like how?
Yeah.
What's the reaction? Because I think that, kids in a way, they are like, they don't have this presumption so much, because I think it's also like a societal norm to maybe find bacteria dangerous or microbes disgusting, or how they react.
I think she has been my like biggest fan or something.
Cool. That's great. That's handy to have it at home.
I'm doing this as my profession. So she has learned, and I have been doing this her whole life.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's kind of like, it's very very interesting, maybe like trial on her, like what does she think of the world, like of microbes, like and maybe nowadays she's starting school soon, so it's also been like that she has been seeing all those, like but then maybe she doesn't remember that much, and nowadays she's remembering a little bit more.
Maybe, it's super normalized. It's just, she's probably thinking, oh, it's my mom's job, to make images out of yeast. It's completely normal, which is great.
Yeah.
But since you like use different microbes to work with the images, does it ever happen that they would contaminate each other? So the dish, which is with yeast, and another, I don't know, with koji, do they?
Yeah, I think the behavior what I've now witnessed as I've worked with the Yeastograms, my first batch was 2020, I think, and I still have a couple of those left in storage, but they haven't changed that much, and that's why I have kept them. And they stayed because of the that they have been always in cold temperatures. The Yeastograms are getting totally different type of microbial worlds living on them than yeast. And yeast is like keeping their form more, and then Yeastograms are getting this dusty green mold on top of them, and it's kind of like gone bad in a month or so. And then I can show you like this.
Here, let's take a moment to look around. We are not in a lab, but in Johanna's kitchen. It is cozy and bright, everything a kitchen should be. Cool. There is even a bokashi compost bin. But it is the second fridge that contains all the Yeastograms archive. The fridge is full of petri dishes of different sizes, shapes, and agar colors. They are all marked with dates and cryptic names of yeast colonies. Some of them have been there for years. Let's have a peek. Oh wow!
Statement Yeastograms with the no war, but this is what happens with the kochi. It overgrows, and I can see the some of the face still there,
so
but
this
not
is
much.
kochi.
That's kochi. That's yeah.
So do they grow a bit differently on different kind of colorants?
Yes, totally. I think I saw. Yeah, here it's that the face is still like there, but it is.
This I love. It's almost like a sculpture.
Yeah,
because it has some.
It is three-dimensional.
This one is great.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, but this is like wrong way of.
It's a negative.
Yes, I'm using negatives, but usually the negative comes positive on the yeast.
Hey, but can I take a picture of this one? I really like. This is like a very interesting effect. What happened here?
Yeah, I think I had those like.
Wow, so strange.
And here too, and here also there is quite a growth. But then this is like the forest blueberry. I mean the bilberry.
Oh, this is beautiful.
It's only the eye in there. But
this looks mysterious.
Yeah, but then it's very hard to photograph.
Because
of the color or it's so dark, and it shines when you take the photo.
This looks like a face in the space.
Oh yeah, yes. With these fridge temperatures, these can survive like quite long. Some of them go bad like really easily, and some just stay.
I think it demands so much patience to work with this, because there is a long time that you cannot see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see something, you don't know for how long.
Yeah, you have to have the time and patience to wait for it to happen. And maybe it's never happening. So then you have to just deal with it. So, yeah.
But since now the Petri dishes with the Yeastogram or Kochigram or whatever other microbes are
red rice
there,
Yeastograms.
They, at the end of their life cycle, they end up in the compost right now.
Yeah.
Do you have plans yet? What will you do with the compost dirt which will be created out of it?
Yeah, I really would like to use it as a installation object. So it would be nice to have like the dirt from Yeastograms to grow something new.
That's super circular, right?
Yeah,
It's like
it is also like not good for the compost. If you are doing a compost, you shouldn't put water in it. But of course, this is not water. It's jellified jello water.
I have to say that from this, what you've shown me, they are surprisingly different from each other. Like it's very big variety, and of course, you experiment with the colorants of the growth medium, but this is actually the least difference you see, because like some of them, they are very much populated, some of them just a little bit, some of them are like with a fluffy, like a growth, and another is like super flat and gentle. So it's surprising how different they are. How you recognize that something is yeast and something is not yeast anymore?
Of course, I cannot be like 100% sure about it. But then if bacteria grows here, it's normally, it doesn't live that long. Okay. So I cannot really grow like bacterial yeastograms or bacterograms, which, they have been doing those as well.
Okay. But they are much...
But bacteriograms are like that you have to have, of course, you have to have like solid bacterial growth and cultivate that on the Petri dish. And that's like really hard to get the bacterial like colonies. And that's why usually the bacteriograms are done in laboratories.
There can be technology behind poetry. If yeastograms sound like something you would like to know more about, you can find the video tutorial on Johanna's Vimeo. The profile is called Yeastograms, as well as the original Pavilion 35 recipe developed by Günther Seyfried and Lukas Cizek from the BioArt Club Pavilion 35 from Vienna, Austria. If you liked this episode, please share it. If you would like to know more about the show, listen to this episode again, or find previous episodes, please go to fermentradio.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We would love to know what you thought of this conversation, hear your human microbial stories, and your suggestions for the future episodes. We are always looking forward to hearing from you at hello@fermentradio.com. You can also leave us an audio message by connecting to us on our Instagram. Ferment Radio is brought to you by Super Eclectic, and it's supported by Microbial Lives, Practices of New Human Microbial Cultures, a project at the Center for the Social Study of Microbes. This particular episode was recorded during a residency at the BioArt Society, Finland. I'm very grateful for this support, and most of all, with all our amazing Ferment Radio listeners. Keep fermenting and stay tuned for the next episode of Ferment Radio.